There are major scales and there are minor scales, but is that all? No, there are so many more scales to fill this world with incredible music. Now in this video, I'm going to share how to figure out and play major pentatonic scales. And as always, we will be using this knowledge to create little mini songs so that you can practice this. Now, if you missed the beginning of this series, I would highly recommend either check here or the description. Go back, watch whatever you need to in order to catch up. It's on YouTube. You can go back, there's no penalties for that, and then when you're ready, come join us here. If we haven't met before, I'm Rosemarie Penner, online piano teacher and composer at Must Love Music, and I make learning fun, simple, and interactive with some fun and creative ideas and resources to bring on those smiles. Now, years ago, I heard a rather funny but very useful phrase. When in doubt, pent it out. I was classically trained. We didn't pent out anything. But it was such a light bulb moment the first time that I tried that strategy of penting it out. And now I use this with all of my students. It's a really great starting point for improvising and also actually for composing as well. And that's because this scale, when you're improvising, regardless of almost regardless of what chords you are playing, it sounds really good. And that's why it's such a popular thing to do. If you haven't seen it, check out how to play beginner major scales on the piano. We are building on that one, and so link is here or in the description. Now, you've heard me say it for the past 2 weeks, music loves patterns, and scales, they use patterns, in this case, of whole step and half steps. Typically, when pentascales are taught, first of all, you're still only using 5 notes, just like we've done in the previous videos with our pentascales. I know they sound similar, right? Pentascale, pentatonic scale. Even though it's only 5 notes, it's going to sound quite different. Now, it's created using the first, second, third, fifth, and sixth notes of the major scale. And as I was thinking about this and how I would teach this to you, I realized, but that assumes you know the full major scale. And if you're a beginner piano student, you may not know that. You're probably not in piano lessons going to be learning a full octave scale your first year. So that means you don't get it pented out until who knows when. That seems silly. So what is this pattern that I'm telling you about? Well, the pattern is play a whole step and a whole step, and then we're going to combine a whole and half step together. So we're doing a little musical addition here, and then followed by a whole step. Okay? This is not necessarily how you would be taught this in a piano lessons. Typically what we try and do is show our students, but I've been sharing the patterns so that you can be quite independent with this on your own. If you want, if you have like little gems, something like this, you can get them at the craft store. If you've got big enough Legos, whatever you've got around, as long as it's not going to fall in your piano, you can use those if you're a pretty visual person and want to be able to move those and see what they look like for different scales. Let's see what this looks like on the piano. So I'm going to use gems a little bit further down, and then I'm going to play as well. So we're going to start on C. So find your 2 black keys, and just to the left of them, that's C. Go up a whole step. Then we're going to go up another whole step. Okay, so we've gone whole step, whole step. Now we've got our combination whole and half step. So let's go up, that's a whole step, plus a half step, and then our last whole step. So remember, these half and whole steps, they really talk about, or they're describing how far apart the notes are from where we're playing each up, like where each note is in relation to the others. And so we've got whole step, combining our whole and half step, and then whole step. This is what it sounds like and looks like when you're playing it. Now, if you're an analytical person, you're wondering, why do we skip the F? The F can be a little problematic when we're improvising. That's usually the one, if you play that and something sounds off as you're improvising, as you're creating something on the fly, it was probably that. And so the pentatonic just takes that note out, and then you have a pretty pleasing sound. So let's do right hand together. C, D, E, G, A, G, E, Now remember, you can pause at any point. I'm going to move these up and then play with my left hand. So just quickly set them up here. That way you have a visual. Okay, so left hand starting on C. And let's play this together. Now you're going to notice that between your third and fourth finger, or your middle finger and your pointer finger in your left hand, your ring finger in your right hand, it's going to feel a little stretched. So not only are we playing hands together, which might make your brain feel like it's going like this, your fingers are going to feel a little like that too. But that's okay. So it sounds beautiful, right? And you can start on any of these lovely notes and follow that whole step, then combining our whole and half step plus whole step. You can understand why a lot of times this is taught not with the whole and half step method, and we just teach students like this is the scale numbers. It's a lot faster. Now, as always, we improvise, we experiment, we explore. What I would like you to do is create a little pentatonic scale song. You're going to be creating a melody using those particular notes that we just did. And then what you can do is you can repeat notes, you can go up or to the right, down or to the left, and kind of switch up where you switch directions. So for example, in my right hand, I might play something like so some of those notes were a little bit shorter, some of them were a bit longer, so that adds rhythm. And by switching up what I was doing, then it adds a little interest to it. Left hand option. I would recommend pause the video, try this out on your piano, and try it out first on C and then come back. I'm going to quickly show you starting on F what this might look like. All right, so if you've come back, well, obviously you've come back. I mean, you're here, you're watching the video. So if we start on F, let's do our pattern. We've got a whole step. We're going to do a whole step and half step. That takes us to C. And then D. If you're wondering, how do I know this is an F? I looked for my 3 black keys and I went to the left or down, and there's my F. Okay, so let's run through this one. We're going to start with our left hand. So find those 3 black keys, find F, and let's play this one. F, G, A, C, D. Notice it sounds like we're skipping a note, because we are. D, C, A, G, F. Okay, let's do right hand. F, G, A, C, D, and back down. D, C, A, G, F. Hands together. And remember, you can do all sorts of rhythms with this. A lot of times rhythm adds much more interest to scales. It also means that if you're feeling like your hands are a little stretched out, then you can have a little break from the stretchy feeling. So let's do a very quick review here of major pentatonic scales on the piano. First of all, these scales follow a pattern of half steps and whole steps. The pattern is whole step, then you're going to add a whole step and half step together. So you're going to combine them and then whole step. And what it does is it skips one of the notes in the scale. You can create a melody using this. It's going to sound fantastic as long as you make sure that you, say, add some repeat notes. You go up, you go down, you switch directions, and maybe add a little rhythm with some short and long notes, and you're going to sound like you created a song from scratch, which you did, in no time flat. I would love to hear from you. What was the most challenging part or something surprising that you learned about these major pentatonic scales? Let me know in the comments below. Now, next week, we are doing, you're probably going to guess what it is, but we are doing another type of pentatonic scales. So if you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe. That way you know when the video comes out and you can continue your learning journey. I look forward to seeing you then.